guys, hope you're all doing well. Carrie from Wabi Sabi again. Just off the back of the live that we did last week in relation to Suicide Prevention Week, we wanted to do a follow-up live in relation to grieving, loss, and how to actually deal with that. We had an overwhelming response from people. We're so thankful for everyone who tuned in and listened to the live, the podcast, and however else we actually put it out there. But the really thing that stuck with us was that it affected a lot more people than we thought it did. And as depressing as that is, and it's not great news, we needed and we felt and called to come out with something that was a little bit more helpful than how to help those calling out for help, and what to do for those that miss that opportunity. We were those people, and we know what it was like and it is like to go through that. So we've put together a resource book. It's about 70 pages. It's a grief recovery book. It's a book that is designed that it's not designed to go through chronologically. It's designed to kind of just flick through, and whatever you feel to do at that time or that day, that's what you do in relation to dealing with your grief. It's not something that you just go from, you do chapter one and you go all the way through and all that kind of stuff. It's just whatever you're called to do, because every day is incredibly different when we're talking about grief. It's hard. It's hard. It sucks the wind out of you. It's the biggest kick in the guts you could ever get. And I know that even 12 weeks after my brother passed away, I still was not fit enough or well enough really to be in the workforce. But obviously for financial reasons and for other reasons, I didn't know I was pregnant at the time, but I was, that I really needed to get back to work. And I felt like I needed, to stop sitting around the house moping around. But when I got to work, I had a whole lot of different other problems that I didn't think that I would have. So we put together this workbook, and like I said, it's about 70 pages. I hope it's incredibly helpful. And what I want to do today is I actually just want to jump into it, and I want to just go to a page and let's just give you a feel of what is in the actual workbook. If I can work out how to, here's my laptop. Here we go. All right, so we've got things in there. We've got section 1, 2, 3, 4. Section 1's about understanding grief, so understanding what it is that you're actually going through and why you're feeling the way that you are. It takes years, it takes time, it takes you think that you're getting so far ahead, and then all of a sudden you'll be taking a lot of steps backwards. You'll be crying unconsolably out of the blue, and that's all normal. And just understand that that is the normal process that you go through, because there'll be something that triggers in your mind, there'll be something that reminds you of that certain person, or you just completely miss them. And it's sad. The second year, they say, is even worse than the first year, because the first year is all new. You don't know, it's the first anniversary, it's the first birthday, it's the first Christmas without that person, and all that kind of stuff. And then the second year, it becomes, what's the second year? And now I really, really miss them. And, I just want them here with me right here today. So let's have a look at what we've got. Section 1's understanding grief. Section 2 is taming the pain. And section 3 is about letting go. And that's not about letting go and moving on and pretending as though it never happened. It's about letting it go to a point that you can just say, okay, it's happened. I'm mindful in the way that I'm doing it. That person's always going to be with me. I'm never going to forget, but I have to get on with my life. And your life is not, their legacy isn't for you to sit and suffer for the rest of your life. That's not love. That's not anything. That's not what I would want for the person that I love the most. So let me there is just so many great articles that we've written here that, as we went through the healing process and as we healed and tried to heal and just went through our thoughts every single day, what we did was we wrote about that and about how we felt and about what we did and what was helpful. So I'm just going to just scroll randomly. Let's just scroll randomly and just see. All right, I've landed on chapter 12, which is understanding the recovery process. So until you understand the grieving process, this may seem a little bit out of order. There are parts in the book that are about, finding happiness after loss. And that will be too soon for a lot of people that it's recently happened to. So understanding the recovery process, I think, is really important one. Actually is quite a good one, because you need to know how you're going to recover, and that's going to give you some comfort to know that it is achievable and you can do it. So it is a long process and it isn't easy. I can definitely tell you that. It can't be avoided or eliminated quickly. You can't fast track it. You can't do anything like that. So but there are some things that you can do to help you feel a little bit better about how to recover and recover, not a little bit better, but just understand that what the process is. So the first step is going to be understanding grief, and that's what I just spoke about before. So the first chapter and the first section in the book is really about understanding all the levels of grief, and how you may go from one level to the next, and then you may go back to the first level, and that's fine as well. It takes as long as it takes for you to get through the process. There's no one way. There's the 7 ways that we deal with grief, but it's not linear, if that makes sense to you. It happens the way it happens, and you just have to trust the process. You have to trust that part of that living is a part, loss is a part of living, and we have to go through it, unfortunately. And it makes you appreciate so much more, but at the same time, you don't want to feel like you have to, feel the appreciation for things by losing something, and something so significant to you. And that's how I definitely felt. So the first one is understanding grief. Grief refers to the way that you handle the loss. The grief can range from a loved one to a pet. It also can occur over the loss of health, employment, and other life events. Um, it's not a cookie cutter decision. It can vary greatly from one person to the next, and even change during one person's lifetime. The way you handle loss can differ at various stages of your life. And yeah, I can definitely say that's definitely true. Grief can include anger, resentment, sadness, guilt, and other feelings. The second thing about understanding the recovery process is the changing thoughts. And this is the changing thought pattern that I was talking about before. It's not just the stages that you go through, but also the changing thoughts that you have in relation to death, or about the loss or the recovery. So in my case, when my brother committed suicide 12 months ago, the changing thoughts, I've gone through every single thought that I possibly could have. And that's just trying to make sense of something that my mind just cannot make sense of. And you try and make sense of it in the best way that you can. And you also have to understand your limitations there, and that you're doing the best job that you can to try and understand something that your mind perhaps could never understand. And in one way, that's a blessing, because I haven't felt the way that he's felt. But in another way, it's very detrimental, because you lack that understanding of how that person was feeling at that time, and how that could possibly happen. One of the common themes of grief is changing thoughts. This can occur rapidly and can take you from feeling fine to absolutely feeling devastated in a matter of minutes. I've done that multiple times, and I still do that. And I'm now more comfortable with doing that, and I'm now more comfortable with not having to explain myself so much to other people when that actually happens, and when I have those moments. I remember when I first started working, what actually happened to me was I got made redundant from a job that I absolutely loved a week before my brother passed away, and I was in that job for 6 years. It was a significant job. It was a global position that involved a lot of corporate travel. It was it was a job that I absolutely loved, and I was also going through a divorce at the same time. And then I suffered the third loss, which was the most significant loss, which was of my brother. And having to re-enter the workforce 12 weeks after losing my brother, but also after being in a job that I loved, that I didn't want to leave, and getting into a job that I didn't particularly want to be in, and in an environment I didn't want to be in either. And because I was made redundant, that had another issue on top of it. Just compounded everything, just compounded on top of each other. So I absolutely went from one emotion to another in 2 seconds. One person would say something to me and I'd be devastated, I'd be so upset, or I'd be angry, or yeah, just be unreasonable, just completely unreasonable. But I knew it was because of this, and because I knew that, I knew I could get through it, if that made sense. So just knowing that, and I didn't have to explain that to anybody, but I knew it in my own mind that I wasn't going crazy. My body was just trying to process, and my mind was processing a lot. It was a lot of change at a very short amount of time. So your thoughts about your loss will also vary through shock, sadness, guilt, anger, acceptance as you go through the grieving process. And because I lost my brother through suicide, it is a very confusing way. I feel that your mind goes through just, and even a year later, it can still go through that time of just trying to put things together and just, yeah, could this have been part of it? Yeah. Concerns of loved ones. So obviously for me, with losing my brother the way that I did, and with the situation that I was in, I was very concerned for my parents, for both my father and for my mother. I was concerned for the way that they felt about me and how I was going as well, because I was also going through so much at that time. Um, and if you have children or elderly or grandparents and all that kind of stuff, it can be very, very hard and very confusing, and it can add a compounded pressure on top of what you're already going through. So um, your friends and family need to understand that your grief process doesn't have a set expiration date. You're not required to stop grieving at any particular time. Your process may take longer or shorter than what others perceive as normal. It may take longer than your husband. It may take shorter. Um, there's no timeline to it. It takes as long as it takes, and allow the process to be the process. The learnings are in there, the lessons are in there, the grieving is in there, the pain is in there, all of that is in there for you and for your world. And everyone's map of the world is very, very different. Um, Also, let family, friends know if there's anything that they can do to help you, such as preparing meals, helping with the house or errands, taking the kids off your hands for a while, or anything else that you would feel that would bring some relief to you and your family. The fourth um, option here is using distractions. As much as you can use distractions, I can tell you right now that they can be distracting for a period of time, but it comes back. There is no escaping grief. Um, I've tried everything to get away from having to do with the work that I really needed to do, and to feel the pain that I needed to feel. And there's no escaping it. There really isn't. You've just got to let it run its course. And once again, trust the process, because you will come out in the end and everything will be okay. It's common to use distractions to deal with grief. Distractions can help you temporarily forget the pain. They can also make you avoid dealing with the emotional impact of your loss. It's important to use distractions in moderation and be patient with your feelings. Focusing on work, hobbies, watching funny movies, reading a great novel can help keep your mind occupied temporarily. And, they're great things to just in the moment give you some relief. And sometimes that's just all you need, is just that relief in that moment, because maybe it's just a time that it's not appropriate for you to like really be fully present in the moment to deal with what you need to deal with. Um, Preoccupation with the loss. The nature of your loss can preoccupy you and make you feel focused solely on the grief, and that's something that definitely happens. It can consume your life for a long period of time. Part of the recovery process is understanding that long-term preoccupation with the loss isn't healthy. This differs from short-term preoccupation, which will happen for a while. As this time goes on, you need to continue to feel the preoccupation. Seeking outside help from a counsellor may help if you feel that it's going on for a long, long, long period of time. If you feel like at 3 to 4, 6 months' time that it is consuming all of your life, then yeah, you definitely need to start speaking to somebody about that. Support group and therapy. Grief counsellors can help you guide through your grief and find ways to help you deal with your loss. You may feel benefit from support groups or therapy sessions, or people that are, that you can connect with that are going through the same thing that you are, or something very similar. There's also forums and Facebook groups filled with other people experiencing grief. The people that can help you sort through your thoughts and share ideas that have helped them. It also can also have a negative effect if those groups are very, very much stuck in their grief, and they're not making progress. You need to know when to cut those groups off as well. When you start seeing posts where you just feel like it's bringing you backwards and not forwards, you're not moving forwards with it. Then yeah, there is a timeline there, I think, that you can call it. And number 7 was accepting their recovery process. It's not possible to just skip over the pain or the loss. If you feel that the recovery process, sorry, if you accept that the recovery process will take time and effort, then it will be easier to handle. Accept it. Accept your feelings and focus on rebuilding your life after the loss. Obviously, easier said than done, but if you can just find some sort of type of comfort in the fact that I've done it, all of my family have done it, we've done it in our own time, we're still going through it, but that there is a process, there is an end date to that real harsh pain that you feel every single day, where you just feel like you can't get out of bed. The grief process can take a significant amount of time. You don't have to pretend that it's easy to fix, and you don't have to pretend that you're okay at all. At all. Definitely be open and honest with your family and your friends. The stages of grieving and the process that can take is overwhelming at times, but your journey is to recovery, and it can be eased by seeking help from others and finding ways that allow you to move forward and past the devastating effects. So I hope that's helpful for you guys. That's just one couple of pages out of the book that we're hoping to release really, really soon, and that's off the back of the suicide prevention live that we did the other day. We had an overwhelming response in relation to that, and how many people were affected by that, and the stages in which they were affected by that was actually quite surprising to us. So Peter and I have worked incredibly hard to get this 80-page book out and ready for you guys. It'll be in proofreading as we're going live now, so hopefully we can get it out to you in the next couple of days. For those of you who want it, need it, I would like to have it just in case. So that's it from me. Pete would love to be here, but he's tending to our 5-month-old baby and doing all the daddy duties right now. So anyway, all the best, and I'll speak to you guys soon. Any questions that you have, please just reach out. Email me, direct message us, messages, however means that you have. If you've got our number, do that, and we're definitely here to help you. Have a good night. See you guys.